Hi, Barry. I think we got a seat over here.
There's a seat right there for you. Thank you for coming.
Barry Ferguson.
Hi.
We were just about to call the meeting of the Old Town Maine Comprehensive Plan Committee to order at 6 o'clock. And I think it'd be good if we just did a quick, introduce you, who you are, what part of town you're from, and then we'll get started. Barry, you want to start?
Sitting in the right seat. Sorry I didn't dress up until 5 minutes ago. I thought I was going to choir practice.
Oh.
I'm Barry Ferguson, resident of Old Town on Razzle Street, and I'm a wildlife biologist with Huber Resources Corporation and work with Ted.
I'm Al Dickey. I've lived in Old Town just about my whole life on College Avenue, and I'm retired, which is great. It makes me smile every day. I used to be a school administrator for 25 years. So.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Karen Robertson. I'm new to meeting most of you. I live in Old Town on French Island. I've been here for about 4 years. I'm a freelance marketer. I do social media, graphics, and stuff like that, development, and I volunteer with a couple of other groups, the Friends of Suncays and the Animal Orphanage. But I thought this would be a great way to get to know my town, hopefully add some value, and that's it.
Great.
My name's Tim Folster. I live up on Sewell Drive, lifelong resident of Old Town, on the planning board.
Ted China. I'm the on the planning board. I live in West Old Town and been here a long time. I'm from Old Town and spent some time other places, but been here for a long time.
Carol May. I've lived here my whole life. I live in downtown Old Town, practically, 7 Oak Street, and I'm on the city council.
David White, retired, with Al. A previous city employee, state employee.
Linda McLeod, lifelong resident of City of Old Town, live up on Bennett Road, 1781, and council member.
David Russell, code officer for going on 4 years here.
And I'm Kat Bodwin. I am the consultant that the city hired to help you with this process. I hail from Augusta, but I went to school here next door and actually lived in Old Town for a short time, so I'm coming back home in a way.
Well, great. Maybe for the new members that are on the, you could just kind of we've only had one meeting and all that, but just maybe you could just kind of bring them up to speed here for what we're doing.
Certainly. I did give to Karen and Dave a copy of materials that I handed out last time. I have one other set.
I didn't get one.
So what I'm going to do is email it to you if I have your correct information.
Gary, there's a sign-up sheet, and I put some of your stuff on there. I might not have got it all right, so you want to check that out.
When we get done, we'll make sure everybody's got everything correct here.
Okay.
Great, yeah. So I'll put that information out to you. Essentially, what we did last time is I went over the schedule. So this is what we're going to do. We're hoping that we can get you a draft plan by January of next year. I think that's a bit ambitious, but I think we can do it. We also have outlined a series of public engagement strategies, from website to Facebook page to having a 2.5-day series of meetings in September timeframe, a couple of public workshops and public hearings. And so we're going to be really using a number of ways to get the community engaged. We're going to be talking tonight about whether or not we need to follow up and do an additional survey. That'll be entirely your decision, but I did review a couple of surveys that have been done in the recent past and have summarized that, so you can, see whether or not you want to do any more than what you've already done. But that would be, if we chose to go with a survey, that's another way to engage the community. I think I talked very briefly last time about the all the different information I'm looking for, that I'm trying to pull together. We'll be talking a little bit about that tonight as well, what I have pulled together and what information I'm still combing through. The 1995 plan, which is what we're basing this update on, is very thorough. There are some analyses of data in that plan that I'm not sure we need to do again, because they're not necessarily going to add a whole lot of value, but we're going to pick and choose the ones that add value, and if there are additional ones, we'll do some additional data gathering and analysis to provide an alternative to some of those that are in that plan. I think also after the last meeting, so I'll have to remember that I sent the meeting notes and the rules for the state comprehensive planning review process to some of you. So for those of you who did not receive the email last time, I'll make sure that we get you what the summary of those rules. In fact, I think I brought some tonight. I did. So I'll catch those, distribute that later. As far as the rules go, let me just be clear that the state does not require you to have an approved plan. They don't approve your plan. What they do is they review your plan to make sure that it meets the state goals, so that after your plan is in place and your ordinances are developed to respond to your plan, if you are challenged in court by anybody, and if your ordinance speaks to your comprehensive plan, you have the piece of paper from the state that says, yes, it's consistent. Otherwise, there could be a longer, more drawn out, more expensive challenge to make sure that somebody can agree that there is a connection between the comprehensive plan and the ordinance. So that's really the primary reason. It used to be, back when the comprehensive plan law was first put on the books, that there were lots of grants and things available for municipalities who did their comprehensive plans and met the state rules. You had your foot in the door first, but a lot of those funding sources are now gone. So the real main reason is to make sure that you have that legal standing that can help you if you're ever challenged with your ordinances. So I don't know if there are any questions about that, or if you had a chance to go through any of those.
Well, it's just, I mean, the things that have happened since 1995, most notably the landfill on Juniper Ridge. There were all sorts of challenges. Nobody said a word about the comprehensive plan, but they said lots of other things.
I bet.
So I'm not quite sure how pertinent that is, because that was a pretty big challenge.
Right, right. I don't know the facts of that particular
of course,
case.
It's a state-owned landfill, so maybe that trumped any
Maybe.
connection to a comprehensive plan.
That's very possible. That's very possibly. So it would be interesting to take a look at that sometime, and maybe I'll be able to get into that a little bit for doing an update.
I think in the update, yeah, that's going to be
Yeah.
a big issue. We'll have to
Yeah.
tiptoe around that, I think, to some extent.
Yeah. So I think that covers it in terms of a review of what we did last time. For tonight, I feel like I'm talking so loud
it does seem
into
loud.
this.
It does seem
Perfect.
loud tonight.
It's perfect. Last time, I guess they couldn't catch my voice at all. So somebody turned it up. Anyway, so what I would like to do tonight is hand out a summary of the past surveys that were done in 2011, 2013, I think.
Phil, do you want to sit up here? I can sit back. Yeah, go ahead, sit up right up here.
I'll just bring my chair up. I'll bring my chair.
Oh, we'll cozy up.
There's room up here if you want.
There's plenty of room, I think.
There's two, one for Phil, too. Is he always going over on that side? Okay, so,
You want a coffee?
Yeah,
You need more?
probably ought to have one to go by. Next time I'll make a few extras.
Gentlemen? I have the rest.
Okay, so the
Hold on
two
to that.
surveys, one is on a page and a half and the other is on a single page by itself. The first one identifies, basically summarizes the public services survey that was done, I want to say,
I think that's an
what does it
extra
say,
one.
2011. And it was prepared by a firm out of Meredith, New Hampshire, and it was to secure a critique of municipal departments and operating units as they were structured at that time. And it was to assess a plan by the city manager at that time to kind of restructure city government. And it was also to take a look at the Old Town Water District to see whether or not there could be ways to further collaborate between the city and the water district. It was predominantly an internal review. Thank you, I ended up with an extra. So does everybody have one now?
Yep,
Okay.
there's an extra copy here.
Okay. So it was an internal review. The consultant spoke to the managers of the organizations predominantly, and then, just really tried to get a handle on what was going in within each of the different organizations. So I pulled from that a number of key points, about 10 key points that were drawn from that study. I think what I need to know as we go through these is whether any of them were implemented. So for those of you who may know, that would be great. If, we may have to do a little bit more homework on them.
I just want to interrupt you, Kat. I can't address any of these because I've been involved in the planning board and/or the wastewater treatment.
Yes?
But there has been some actions going on about water district / sewage treatment, but that is not something formulated. It's still in the council level.
Right.
But I don't know if that was part of what you have up here in the intent to review the water district, the ITOR potential benefits for relationship with the city.
Well,
So that
that's,
was-
that's what was done in 2011.
Right, but right at
But-
this point in time, as we speak,
Yeah.
that's under consideration. I can't address
Okay.
that because we have two counselors here that probably know more about it than I, but,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, so it's just really what I need to understand is,
Right.
of that survey, what happened?
Mhm.
Did some of the things move
With-
forward?
With the school department, of course, the RSUs came into play.
Okay.
And
They did create a position, economic development, number 2 under the key qualities.
Okay. So, because that sounded like there was, all of that was falling on the managers, in addition to the manager's duties, so that was split up. That must have helped.
We're working on the downtown now.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's not a full-time economic development position either.
okay.
He's a consultant, he's hired, I don't know how.
It's
Contract,
we contract.
there we go, that's what I meant, he contracts,
Okay, so it's a contract position,
yes.
all right.
also, as far as explore shared staffing with other municipalities for economic development, and the counselors know that has been discussed year after year after year with not much result. Hence- hence-
Discussed here or discussed with
Discussed
other
with other
municipalities?
communities.
I see.
Hence the reason we have the contracted economic development director.
Right. Yeah, it's tough to share that role.
I know, I just heard on the news this morning that Bangor is exploring that
Really.
with economic development to try and bring a regional economic development.
I think
Plus-
if you skip down to number 9, I
Yes.
think that the recreation department was privatized out of the city, and the pool was taken over, I believe, by the YMCA. I don't know what our physical responsibilities maintain with the city, but
We do still have fiscal responsibility
We own the buildings, for both of
Right.
those.
for both.
the care of the facility, though, goes under the Y, though? Is it managed by the Y? I don't know how that works, but
No,
it was it's
Well, it-
indirectly Somewhat indirectly.
We're getting ready to have the Bureau of Labor Standards come, and we're scrambling to get things, not scrambling.
Okay.
We are prepared to have things taken care of at the
Okay.
pool
Okay, yeah,
from the last inspection that we had there.
okay.
And I've offered, along with the fire inspector and the facilities manager, we're going to go to the rec department prior to the Bureau of Labor
Mhm.
to try and give Kevin a heads up on what he needs to do
Mhm.
prior to their inspection, so because we are liable for the building.
You still own the building.
Yes.
So is the Y involved at all?
The Y is involved with the
They
pool.
run the programs?
No.
No,
No.
the pool, just the programs
Just
at
the
the pool.
program at the pool.
Yes.
The recreation center director is now privatized and he
Yes.
does it himself.
He was a municipal employee
Yeah,
previous, and then last year, he took the program over himself.
okay. What about the code officer and building inspection to the fire department? That didn't happen.
Mm-mm.
Number 8.
No,
No.
number 7 didn't
That
happen
didn't
either.
happen either. No.
Okay.
Union State School Resource Officer.
And if I can speak to number 8, that's, I don't see that.
Not gonna happen.
Now, I will say
Not
that they
likely.
do business inspections,
Mm-hmm.
and then along with that, the code officer, the health officer, and the fire department do all victualers license inspections, liquor license inspections together.
Right. But they do business inspection for life safety.
Yes.
Yeah.
So were these points something that municipal resources came out and said, these are things you should do, or was this
It-
as a result of the internal?
It came
interview?
out of those conversations, so some of it may have been recommended by the people they were talking with, but some of it may also have been something that they were putting forward as a good idea. Combination.
When did City Hall move into this building?
What year was it?
It was
Come
5
on,
years,
David, Come on, David.
5 years maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, yeah, at least 5 years.
So it was before this 2011. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's longer than
Seems,
5
seems like it
years.
just happened, but it's been
Yeah,
been
it's
here.
I know,
This
yeah.
is my
Been in here for a
second
while.
Mm.
term, and I was here for the first 3 years, yeah.
Mm.
It was more, it's
Yeah.
longer than 5 years.
Yeah, I think it is.
Wow. Time flies.
Also, under number 6, I'm not sure what the reference was. Dave was the Public Works Director, but 3 independent operating units. I'm not sure if that's referencing Water District and the Sewer Department
Pool
doing
water,
things
public
together, and they have been doing things together, but they're not officially bound. Just for your information, the current water treatment director, I guess is what his title was, has left. And there is a superintendent that's running the water district and a superintendent that's running the wastewater treatment plant. And they're still independent, but I believe they're sharing some resources back and forth, or they are exploring it, let's put it.
And they are.
Yeah. So that's.
But they're
but I
not
don't-
consolidated.
Correct, and I think the third
Two-
unit then was Public Works, and that
I'm
must
not
be what
sharing
that's
any facilities
referencing.
with them.
No, no, they're not doing it.
And one of the issues,
Water and-
when you try and consolidate a water district into a municipal water department,
There's a little bit of complication.
there's a lot of complications.
Lot of complication.
Well, we don't have to belabor this, but, you know, anything that stands out, it
Things-
sounds like the conversations around the water department, though, are still pretty high priority.
I'm not sure.
No, no, I'm not sure, no, no.
That's
We're discussing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's his,
Well, if anything else jumps out at you on that, that you think would be helpful for me to know, then please, you
And
know.
I think under 10E, where it says city recreation coordinate programming with both school, YMCA, and Orno,
Yes.
the recreation department doesn't exist, as we just said, so the coordination effort, I'm not sure if it really took place per se, but I do know that there is a YMCA operating the pool, as was alluded to, and then the rec director is privatized, and so I don't know if they work with the YMCA.
Right,
I think we're out of the business of recreation.
right. That's
Right.
what
We
it
are.
sounds like, yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Other than owning the
Owning the
facilities.
facilities is
Right.
probably
Mhm.
the biggest key. We should get
Correct.
rid of those buildings.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. All right, the second survey, which is the single page on page 3, was a survey of citizens, and it was done by the School of Economics and Margaret Chase Smith Policy Center in 2013. There were a number of questions that had to do with quality of life and the quality of certain services, as well as the degree of citizen participation, and just trying to get a handle on what the perceptions were among the various demographic differences within the community. So apparently, this survey was sent out to 5,718 voters in the community, and they got 680 responses back. So that's a pretty high percentage, pretty high response. But based upon what I read, it looks like most of the responses came from older female and more educated adults, which kind of fits with, I think, some of the conversation we were having last time, that the underrepresented groups were the students and the renters and maybe some of the elderly. So if we decide we want to pursue additional survey work, we'll have to think about ways to really bring that sector out. So in terms of some of the summaries, I've got asterisks next to some of the highlights. So as a place to live, responders favored their neighborhoods over the city as a whole. My question in bold is, well, what other parts of Old Town might have shaped their opinions about what it's like to be in Old Town? In terms of appearance, 31% rated it average and 14% rated it poor, with fair and good at 25% each. So is that a priority enough for the community to be thinking about how to improve appearance? Because that will give me guidance in terms of the kinds of policies and strategies as well to include in this plan.
I think with a lot of folks think outside of their neighborhoods, or for appearance, they're looking at the downtown, and I think with the downtown revitalization
Right. That's
ongoing, that we're gonna get a good feel for that. We're also, like every other community, we have, I don't wanna say a large number, it's a percentage of people who've just walked away from their mortgages,
yeah.
and how to handle that.
Right.
There is a bill going before the legislature, I believe, to address somehow that municipalities can deal with this, as far as the state's gonna require lenders to notify you anytime there's a foreclosure.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I have some information on that I can forward you.
Okay, that'd be great. Continuing on down, more than 80% of the respondents thought that the rundown buildings and vacant lots or junk vehicles were a problem in some degree or another. And so my question is, was there one more problematic than the other? I would guess it would be the rundown buildings, but that didn't come out in the survey. It's apparent from some of the building permit work that I've been reviewing, is that there have been a fair number of buildings that have been torn down as well. So I don't know if there's some overlap. I'm assuming there's some overlap in that area.
Well, the other thing too, I mean, you're referring in this survey pretty much strictly to the downtown or the
No,
or the
this
residential areas?
This just is.
Because Old Town has a very rural, section in the R3 zones for the most part, and R4 and R3A that, and then there's the R1s and R2s and,
Right.
the
The more
downtown,
densely, right.
the commercial zone. So they're two different animals completely.
Yeah, and there was no information in the survey that would tell me from what part of the community people came from when they
Right.
responded. So that's
That is a pretty high percentage, though,
it is very high.
Seems like something you could drill into,
Right.
maybe, and find out more about what they were talking about,
Right.
what part of the town they were from, or
Well,
what in particular was their issue.
This is kind of pointing out that there are some information gaps about what the citizen, just from these previous surveys, what citizens kind of view as Old Town's current status and where they want to go. So it seems to be pointing towards the need for more information, does it? Does
Right.
that sound?
Yeah. I do definitely think that's an area, especially, again, where this is an opportunity in the comprehensive plan for you to develop some policies and strategies to deal with the issue of appearance if you want. So you don't want to go overboard with it, because then there could be, people say, hey, I don't want you to worry about what I'm planting in my front yard.
Right.
But there might be some things like, that address setbacks or that address landscaping that could help, maybe signage standards that could help
Well, we
improve
our zoning
appearance.
ordinance, it pretty much, obviously the most intensive and restrictive, if you will, zoning ordinances are for the downtown and the R1 zones. And then as you go out to the rural areas, there's fewer and fewer restrictions, as there should be.
Right, right.
So, I don't know. But again, in a comprehensive plan, part of the process, as I understand it, is trying to get some sense from people who will participate.
Yes.
So, well, what do they think we should be doing?
What are the priorities? Exactly. So let's give some thought to that and see if by the next meeting, maybe we can come up with some additional questions that we could ask for that. On the next one, downtown and neighborhood safety concerns were addressed after dark times. And this was for residents in the 42-plus age category. And I talked with Travis Pryor of Wright Pierce, and he said that there are some ways that safety concern in the downtown is being addressed. So that sounded pretty good to me. And then it's a question of, okay, what would make people feel safer in their neighborhoods? Is it street lighting? Is that really the only issue? Is it that there are some wild parties going on next door? I don't know. So that would be maybe something that you want to learn a little bit more about.
And just to say a little bit about that, we have, in the last year and a half, developed a disruptive property ordinance
Okay.
that it's proved to be a deterrent for so that the landlords take responsibility of their properties.
Well, for those who live right downtown, I mean, is there a big problem safety-wise? I mean,
I don't think so, but that's my opinion. No.
I mean, where I
but
live,
I
it's
think
skunks and
they're-
raccoons. So I'm
Where
not-
I live, it is too. Trust me. They're here too. No, I think the concern that was expressed in the downtown was going home, like people walking money bags or things like that from the restaurants. And I guess it had a couple issues with that. And and the police had agreed they were going to be down here more closely, watching. But I don't really think it's most people that are downtown a lot don't feel it's unsafe, and maybe other people have problems in their neighborhoods.
But wasn't there some concern with the park as far as?
Yeah, that's
some-
it. That's walking one end of the
hanging
park.
out
Yeah.
at the gazebo and stuff, and that has been addressed a little bit better
Yeah.
too, so hopefully that.
Yeah, and part of that, we hope that's going to be addressed with, changes in,
Right.
yeah,
and they-
in the,
Well, I mean, so do the police have restrictions on the use of the gazebo? Is that how that was addressed, or?
There's hours for the park.
Right.
yeah.
There we go.
Wasn't there also issues that we had a bar down here that was, probably not the best clientele was?
No,
So-
and the police would always sit out there, when they got home. It was more noise than a safety issue. It was more a noise issue than a safety issue, really. I mean, they were walking home because they
They're
don't
not
drive.
driving.
That's right. Yeah, and it was a noise issue, and there's always going to be selected problems, I think, that people feel unsafe,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't think the police would say it's a big issue if you ask them if they had a lot of complaints about safety
Could
downtown.
the police department give us a sort of an annual statistics of what they're seeing? what
Sure.
the calls
Probably
are?
could.
And they have
I think a lot
before.
of perception,
Yeah.
probably comes from reading the police log in the Penobscot
Yeah,
Times.
yeah. And if you look at that, a lot of those that you see in the Times are not downtown. They're
Right.
like on Park Street or, you know, they're not right downtown. No.
Yeah,
But-
and this wasn't exclusive to the
No,
downtown. That was
that's it.
one of the pieces. It also included neighborhoods, but it's like, which neighborhoods? All of them? You know, it
And-
just wasn't clear to me.
Yeah, and if you lived in town, you would know which ones. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
yeah.
all
And
right.
and to answer your question, every year at budget time, we always get those statistics from the fire
Fire and
department
police.
as well as the police, ambulance, to see how many calls and what are the calls.
So it must
so
be almost budget time.
Oh, it is budget time, so yes.
So,
It's
once
always
that's, I don't want to do a redundant request,
Yeah.
but if maybe you can keep an eye on that, Dave, when they pull it together, just let me know. And I think
I
that
bet they
will.
could do that pretty quickly anyway. I bet you they've got
The
that
other
stuff.
issue we've had, there's been a change in demographics of the population because they built several large student housing facilities in Orono.
Yeah,
So the student renters aren't as prevalent as they were in units, and they've been filled in with a different
a different group.
different group of people.
Mhm.
So it's changed somewhat what the mix of people.
So a lot fewer students, or,
I would say yes.
But when we did, which is another survey that we've conducted, they indicated that there were more students in this area.
was that the
That-
downtown survey?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that I have not picked up yet.
There's also another survey that was being done by the University of Maine in the people who live around the river, in the watershed.
I received one.
I did too. So, and that has a lot of information that we're talking about too, but it's more than just Old Town. It's the.
Right.
it's the
Sure.
From here
whole-
up to Millinocket.
Right.
Was that the
Right.
River Coalition, or?
No,
No,
it was
it's-
Rob Lilyholm and another professor at the university were in charge of it. And it's looking at the communities along the Penobscot River corridor.
Well, I would think that would be a real,
Trying to
do you know what
understand
the source
how,
of
I
that
wonder
is,
if it relates
Barry,
to
or
the suit.
Pardon?
do you know what the source of that is, or so
Penobscot.
It's from
Kat
the,
could
Well,
find it?
a couple weeks ago, I
Yeah.
think, is when I received my questionnaire.
Oh, so it's in progress right
So,
now.
yeah,
Yes,
it's
it's
going
in-
on
right.
right now.
Who was it from? Do you know?
University of Maine.
University of Maine, Rob Lilyholm was one of the professors, and another woman professor of economics.
Yeah, Rob is retiring, so.
Right, right.
But Rob Littleholm's with the School of Forest Resources at the University of Maine.
Okay.
So I'm sure if you ask there, you'll find it. But that's great. Because that certainly ought to be a part of
How do you spell his last name?
L-I-L-E. I just, see if I can find it on my phone.
Well, Ted's looking, sir, if you could just turn your mic so that, because this is all being videotaped so that we can hear you.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. On TV. We're on TV.
You're on camera.
Thank you.
You didn't warn me of that, Ted.
I thought you might not come if I did, so.
It's all on
Okay.
YouTube. It's
Yeah.
on the Facebook page right now.
The next one had to do with community services and opportunities. They gave average ratings to that bulleted list. Availability of dental care, housing, parks and public spaces, ease of auto, bicycle travel and walking, and opportunities for recreation, participation in community matters. I guess there's two there. And acceptance of diversity. It would seem to me, I didn't see a lot of information about buses, bicycles, pedestrian safety. It would seem to me that that might be an area that people we'd want to get a little bit more information about where they feel it's adequate or inadequate, and that might help in terms of some public works initiatives.
I would have to say availability of dental care.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of say in how we're gonna bring
I understand.
And for a community our size, I think we have pretty good, access to that because of the health center, which is, yeah.
I would say that.
Mm.
I'm not going to worry about dental care.
And we have, I think, pretty good public spaces,
Yeah.
parks and public spaces.
We have
Yeah.
a lot of acreage
Yes,
of parks
yeah.
and public
Mhm.
spaces.
And,
If I could interrupt, Kat, Rob Lilleholm, his last name is spelled Lilieholm, and I have an email address. It's lowercase roblilleholm@gmail.com.
Great. Thank you.
Acceptance of diversity. That's an interesting, with the population that surrounds us with the University of Maine, I think.
and that wasn't something that's kind of came out in one of the most recent school surveys that kind of hurt the schools, and I don't really understand why. It may be because of the way they're asking the questions or the way they're, what they're using to determine that in the schools. Like if you have enough music or enough art or that, because I think the schools also are, really are very good with that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I see diversity as cultures
yeah,
Right.
that's right.
more
Yeah,
than anything, so.
and I think that's why, because of the
Right.
yeah.
The way it may have been worded.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, well, we're, like I said, primarily a university town. And I think we're good with that.
Very diverse.
Yeah.
If you go to University Park, the housing,
Right.
it's very, very diverse up there. And
Well,
You gotta
I
look at Maine as a whole. We are not very diverse.
Right, we're not very
No, that's true.
certainly
Oh,
not from that
but-
standpoint, but I think
but-
more
but-
than
yeah.
the average for Maine, I think we are
Sure.
I think this region.
certainly more accepting of different cultures.
Okay. And then participation in community matters, that should have been a separate bullet. That, from when I was digging into that, it seemed that not a lot of people ever visited the city website, ever came to a city council meeting, ever watched a
But
meeting.
budget time is coming.
At budget time.
There are
And,
certain events that we classify as chair-throwing events.
right,
So
right, and those-
the people will show up for some of those.
right,
Depends on how interested they are.
right.
Oh, and as Carol will attest to, with the downtown revitalization, the first meeting was very well attended.
Yep.
And it dropped by 2/3 by the time the second meeting came around.
Well, of course, it was a lot colder, and we'd been in that for a while, but I think the first one was excellent.
It was.
Yes, and then you have to maintain the interest.
Yep, and it's always a challenge because they're juggling so many different things.
That's it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think some of the community matters I would view as like Riverfest, concerts in the park, and some of those are very well.
They are
Oh,
very
yeah,
well.
Yes, they
very well
are.
attended
Yeah.
to the summer
Community
months.
really turns out for those.
And, it also occurs to me is if, again, in the context of a comprehensive plan, I mean, it's one thing for the people here to sit here and say, oh, yeah, there's no problem with
Right,
diversity and acceptance of it, but is that something we should try to get information on in as much as we can locate those constituencies that might be considered
Yeah,
one
I
way or
mean,
the other? I mean, the Penobscot Nation comes to mind.
right.
I'm not sure how we'd recognize others, but
Well, I think part of the issue, again, is that none of these surveys that I've seen so far were able to target the students or, some of the elderly. And so maybe we can develop questions that will help bring them out and, who knows, maybe that's where some of the concern is coming from.
With the students, as far as you mean renter students, or
Yes, oh yeah, it would be
That's-
voter aged.
how do we reach out to those?
I know.
You do.
Well, social media,
Yeah.
digital, mobile, all of that. I feel like that's where I could add some value. Where I go to Facebook and where I spend most of my time and business is, I look at, you search Old Town and there's no website for, on Facebook, but there's 2,200 people that have taken
Yeah,
time to say that
we
they
do have a Facebook page.
Well, I'll back up and say Facebook is notoriously hinky on their search, but when I looked at it just yesterday, in advance of coming up here, the Wikipedia page was more easily found than the Old Town actual page. At least it was for me. So trust me, Facebook is hinky, particularly on its search, but more people seem to be logging into the Wikipedia site, which is like what it is, it's like a blank site, rather than actually engaging on the site. So I would be so thrilled to add value and find ways to increase engagement.
Going forward, I mean, as part of a comprehensive plan, digital media, social media.
Absolutely.
It's just getting the word out.
Yeah, that might be something.
We plan on having a Facebook page, and Wright Pierce is going to host a link to the city website on their page for the updated comprehensive plan. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, and
Well, just
maybe
the
you can give me
idea
some
that-
ideas as well.
Just the idea that basically what's shifting in the way people access information these
Yes.
days is that everything is based upon really on search.
Right.
And
Google.
that search results are basically garnered through content which is fresh and updated and relevant. So the idea is not to throw a web page, and I'm speaking not necessarily about Old Town, but just anybody. Not to just throw a web page up there and walk away from it, but to have a place where people are constantly adding value. And what that might be, it can be whatever you want it to be, but what it could be is, just talking about issues, putting minutes on there, surveys, whatever, comes to mind, but,
I think it's safe to say that, probably half the population, still isn't really comfortable with turning the computer on. And then the other half is very connected as you are.
That's the only way they're getting information.
Right.
And that's true. So that's the component we certainly hadn't thought of.
It's really,
Well, I think I gotta interrupt here,
Yeah.
because we do have a webpage, we do post our minutes, we do all of those things. And in fact, we hired a firm that's going to have all of our policies and all of our ordinances.
Online.
So people can go in and go, I wanna find out
That
what I
that
need
isn't
to have.
that
It's
isn't
in-
ready just yet.
Yeah.
No,
But it
But,
will
but
be.
getting
But
there.
that's where we're headed.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do have, Patty puts the minutes and everything on the webpage. We do have it,
Well,
a living
what
document.
I know that, and I've gone on that website
It's
before,
tricky,
but I'll bet you
though.
there's a way to make it more accessible.
It's tricky. The thing with social media, for instance, is that, you have a website, but then how do people find it? They have to be engaged and interested to find it. So it's not crazy to actually advertise that website in print or wherever. That's not out of the box. And then the idea, again, is about engagement, because believe me, as I'm sure anybody who has a website understands this, you can put content up there all day long, but you have to bring people to your site. And engagement is not easy. It's, social media tends to be free, but, even for a couple of dollars, you can reach people. Like, I'm doing some publicity right now for the animal orphanage and their bean supper. And, you spend $3 and I can reach 1,200 people.
Right.
That's right.
But the
You can
engagement level might be
target
low.
the age group, the
Yeah,
demographics, the
yeah, and you
zip
just keep
code.
hitting them, and you
really
engage, and you ask
We have
questions. and
Access to
a
And
lot
you
of it's
could put a
luck.
survey
that the
on your
city's hired
Facebook
to do
ad
this.
So
and
easy.
link it
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
to your
Yeah.
website where that demographic.
Yeah, our librarian is,
Oh, and then we start
and
grabbing
she's
email
done a great
addresses
job.
and
So-
Okay.
Yeah.
Great,
And,
I don't know much,
And I'm sure if we,
I know what I'm looking for.
yeah,
but I-
and I'm sure if we tell her that problem,
Well,
she
there's a
can
lot
fix it.
to work with. It changes
Great,
every day.
well,
Yeah, and,
And I don't wanna
get there.
disagree with 50-50. I think there is a strong 30% that probably won't do any of it, but I think it's closer to 70% people
you're
do
right.
it.
yeah,
But
mhm.
it's
Yeah.
the older generation.
So,
Yeah, who are those?
Where are they? Where are they? I don't know.
Yeah, so it's just
It's just a
young
matter of.
whippersnappers here
They're
tonight.
just relative.
I agree with everything you said. I do feel, though, that the digital would reach some of these harder-to-reach groups, the ones that
Absolutely.
you've targeted as being harder to reach.
absolutely. And what I've done is I've just handed out what our outline is for the website and the Facebook page. And I think without belaboring the results of the prior surveys, what I've heard is that we probably want to do a little bit more. We want to dig a little bit more. So why don't I, with the information that I've come up with, the 2 additional surveys that we just talked about, I'll come up with a series of questions that you can pick and choose from at our next meeting to
Okay.
decide to go forward. And we'll do a Survey Monkey. We'll post it on the website. We'll post it on the Facebook page. And we will also make copies of it available on the counter downstairs and any other place that you think
Could we
people.
go to some of the elderly residents? And,
Absolutely. I
surveys
would
there?
love it if you would do that.
And the Penobscot Times, I'm sure, would be happy to pick it up.
Yes,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
grocery stores, we put little, posters at the grocery store and say, go to here to get the survey, and there's all kinds of different ways. One very unique way that has been very effective is the City of Auburn's police department have a Twitter account. And they have thousands of people following them on Twitter. So whenever there's an event or a new survey, the police put it on their Twitter account, and bingo,
Never
we
tweeted,
get
did you?
hundreds of people responding. So I did a project for them.
I don't see
Or,
anything with that. I'm
No.
sorry.
Maybe it's
You
time to
don't
start
even do
tweeting.
very
Yeah,
much.
that-
Big Facebook page.
There-
That's very popular.
From people around the state who love Bangor.
The police
My daughter made
department?
me
So,
do a Facebook
it's
page, but I
possible.
don't
It's all
use it.
Yeah.
Stories.
I just don't-
I'm a principal at a school, and I can tell you a whole lot of things I don't like about Facebook.
Well, yeah.
That's
Well, I don't know much
true.
about
That's
it.
very true.
No
There
doubt.
are
Their downfall.
there absolutely are downfalls, and that's why I feel, you couldn't be more correct. And from my point of view, Facebook hasn't reinvented marketing at all. It's still about people and
Right.
talking to people and, containing the message. What it has added that makes it difficult sometimes to migrate is this transparency and people getting on there and saying things that we can't control. That's difficult. But there are settings that you can change. And then I tend to feel that if you have a page and you're spreading the good news and you've got this little tribe of people that have been following you for a while, they tend to put out some of those fires themselves. They tend to come to your rescue and say, what are you talking about?
Right.
I called
Exactly.
the city and they were fabulous, so there's a bit of that, but yeah.
Well,
There's-
Karen, it just seems like as we go forward with this, maybe you,
I would be thrilled
You
to
could-
help. I
you
would be
come up with a
thrilled to
list of
work with you.
suggestions.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I would be thrilled to work with all of you.
So this page that I just handed out, which says from city homepage,
Okay.
add link to, I should have titled it, but basically that's the outline for, at the top half is the outline for the webpage that we want to build, the kinds of things that we'll put on it, the little, banners that say, go here, come do this event, here are the newest minutes, and so on and so forth. And then the bottom half is, we'll create a Facebook page purely for the Old Town Comprehensive Plan update. I thought at first maybe we put it on the existing city Facebook page, but it's way too recreation-oriented from what I saw. So I think this really needs its own.
Can there be a,
And, it's
can there be a
free,
link
so-
between the two?
Oh, certainly, yeah, on Facebook, yeah, we just,
And again, before we start doing a complete overhaul, a complete new webpage and stuff, I think we need to also take a deep look to see what we already have.
We just
We
completed
just have,
I
yeah.
know we
the
did.
update of
the
that.
city's website is one of the best I've
It
seen.
is,
Yes.
it's nice.
It's got a lot of really good information on it that will help me
Right.
and save a lot of time.
Right, but what I'm saying is, I think we've got that foundation, let's build on
Yes.
that foundation instead of trying to recreate that foundation.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
well, the kind of expertise that you may be able to add is just ways to
I think that's
augment
really
it or improve it.
hopefully what I would hope to be able to bring to the table would be like that social part of aspect of that
Perfect.
and that's easy to layer on top of an existing
Exactly, I
website.
know
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
You know, going back to the students, we got a lot of useful information from students on that downtown survey. And a lot of the people who filled that out, because it was at the polls and we got a lot of students. And there was a lot of feedback, and what the students really are looking for is downtown.
Right,
That's really what they're looking for, and arts and cultural things.
of course.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Good.
there's a lot of useful information there.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah, I think another thing that, I have a daughter who's a freshman at UMaine, but not living at home because she wants to have a college experience and live outside, but she has a real issue. She thinks we need more apartments.
Yes.
Because she and her roommate have been looking for apartments, and they say as soon as we go to look at one and make a decision, the landlord says, nope, I sold it already. So she's looking at maybe a lack of them, and so something, I think, to attract them to a Facebook page or whatever, you've got to have something that they're going to come looking for.
That's right.
And if it's
That's a great
directory of
idea. That's a great
current-
idea.
Current apartments or.
And that's right, and that's one of the things they were looking for,
Yeah.
was affordable, nice apartments, though, Yeah, there were a lot of apartments, but they were looking for affordable, safe. Yeah.
So that kind of a post would go on the city's regular Facebook page, but not necessarily on the comprehensive plan update page.
Well, no, yeah.
Right. So, but why don't I just leave this with you? You can take a look at it, and certainly Karen can give me any feedback, any additional ideas, all of you, of course. But let's not spend a lot of time going through an outline. We'll have a draft of it ready for you to take a look at.
Well,
next
and
time.
yeah, I think the input from the people here would be, especially someone who is very familiar with that social media, can add, perhaps suggestions for improvement,
Exactly.
as well as the rest of us.
Yep.
Although I would certainly be one of those that doesn't know as much as I should about it. So I would rely on those who have more experience. But, again, like you say, not to recreate a wheel, but
Right.
just, is there a way we can
Enhance. what we-
enhance it? Yeah.
And I've worked with a number of municipalities and regional agencies, and we've developed websites for all the projects we've ever done. So, I've got a lot of different experiences with what different towns have done. So
Awesome.
this next, more paper, hopefully I won't be drowning you with so much paper all the time, but this is an outline of two options for how your plan could look, how it would be structured. And, these are just two options. There are a number of others, but the first page, basically, it's sequential. You have your normal, your cover, your contents, your executive summary, and then just goes through the process of identifying what your vision statement is, what the summary of the public engagement measures, and how many people came and what they talked about. A little bit of history about the community, and we would focus on the last 20 years because the 1995 plan has all of the priors. We don't want to recreate that. Chapter 2 would be the exhaustive inventory and analysis of all these different categories. And these categories, A through J, those come right out of the rule. So I'm following that outline. Part of the requirement for this contract was develop a plan that can be approved by the state, that can be found consistent. So I used all their categories that are in that
Who
plan.
actually makes that judgment at state?
It's a group that used to be at the state planning office,
know
but
they're
they're
no
now
longer.
at the community planning division of the Department of Agriculture, whatever the
Conservation
new,
and
whatever
Conservation and forestry.
yes, the
Okay.
very,
CF.
yes, thank you.
Okay, so Barry, you have contact with that committee quite a
Well,
bit.
not with that group.
I know the staff there, and I'm right across the river from them, so, and I used to work with them all the time when I was at DOT, so I'm very familiar with their process and how they review things. I've gone through the rule in detail, so I'm
Good.
I'm feeling pretty good about that. So we do the inventory and analysis. I mean, in the rule, they even tell you what questions you need to ask to do the inventory. And, you know, it's very detailed, so it's almost like you hardly have to think. If you follow their prescription, then you should get, you know, a finding of consistency pretty easily. So that would be Chapter 2, Inventory and Analysis. Chapter 3 would be all the vision, the goals, the policies, the implementation strategies, repeating all of those same categories, subject areas, once again. And then Chapter 4 would be the capital investment strategy. So not only do you have in a comprehensive plan what the rules and regulations might be, but what are your capital investment needs, and what should you be looking at over the next 5 years, 5 to 10 years, in terms of capital improvements in your community. And that gets rolled up into that Chapter 4. The alternative approach has many more chapters, but the chapters are made up of the topic areas. So you get the full inventory, analysis, the policies, the goals, and the strategies all in one chapter. So they're almost like a mini plan on each topic. It's just an organizational issue, but, you know, so those are two different approaches for doing the plan. And it's up to you how you want it. You don't have to decide this tonight.
And both of these are consistent with the state?
Absolutely, absolutely.
What was our last comp plan based on, would you
It was
say?
pretty much the conventional
The conventional?
approach, yeah. I mean, again, you know, the chapters, no, as a matter of fact, it was not. It was
was
actually more like this.
The alternative, 'cause, yeah.
Yes,
that's right.
because every topic had its own chapter. What it didn't have, however, was the chapters were just the inventory and analysis, and then at the end, it rolled everything up into what the policies and strategies for each of the topic areas.
Well, you know, the 95 comprehensive plan
Yep.
was a paper product.
Yes,
It was
it
a
was.
complete bound plan. I have a copy of it in my planning board stuff. And you went through the table of contents, and nobody read the whole thing from
Right.
front to, front to back, but it was there. Well, it just occurs to me that the second option would lend itself very well to a digital setup where you could click on municipal finances, and
Yes,
that
you've got it
chapter and
all.
only that would come up.
Exactly.
So it sounds to me like maybe, what do you think?
Couldn't agree completely. I mean, I couldn't help but notice she was glowing when she even talked about the second option. Because it seems to me, it just puts it's more user-friendly. And not just digitally, but like for the layperson.
Yes.
Because it tells
yes.
each thing tells a story.
And you're not having to go back and
Right.
forth in the
crazy,
document.
yeah.
to say,
Well,
what
and
was the
the last plan was
analysis?
like that.
Yeah.
You to get, a lot of stuff was in the appendix
Yeah.
that you wanted to, but here it would be updated, and I can see that blue,
Yeah.
thing. You just click on that link and everything comes up. If you want more information, there's another link. and-
Right. And when you have a particular change happen in the community that affects maybe transportation, you can pick transportation out of the book and update that. And you don't have to try to find all the pieces. It's all in one place.
Because you're bound to miss it in one place or another if
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not.
It's-
Has any of the communities you've worked with developed, basically a living comprehensive plan that they kind of
Absolutely.
adapt and change as they go? So there's no such thing as waiting 20 years, to do it?
What some of the communities are doing now purposefully is they have, especially the town meeting, this is a little different, but town meeting form of government towns, they will put something on the warrant every year that has to do with the comprehensive plan because they want it to be alive. They want the people in the community to be
Oh, we
aware
could do
that
the
there
same
is a
thing
plan.
here, just because we're a council type of
Right.
government.
Well, and it's like
It's-
our zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
Right.
We keep changing and
Right.
updating and.
So again, it's a question of how you let people know what's happening and how you engage them.
Well, yeah, like you said, we don't have to decide now.
Right.
When do we have to decide?
Probably by the end of summer, when I have all of the data analyzed and it'll all be in, chunks here and there, then we'll be beginning to
So you'll
package it
prompt us when
all.
we have to decide.
Is that the September meeting that you were
The
talking about?
first, yeah, the early September meeting is when we'll have,
I think if we
as
took a
much
vote
of the
right now, I
data.
think the second option would win, but
Yeah.
that's just my feeling.
yeah, let's just wait and see what we've
Okay.
got for
Give it some thought.
information. Exactly. Exactly. So that, all right. I'm going to save community members and groups to engage for later, but I wanted to begin to give you a sampling of a few tables that we've begun to pull together for data so far. There's no rocket science here. And there are no big surprises in terms of changes that have happened. I'm collecting this information from the city website, from the state website, from the federal website, anywhere I can find it. And
sorry,
I
you
will
got
be
one?
getting a whole packet of information from the state sometime in May. And I'm not even sure what's going to be contained in that, but it may help me fill some of these gaps. So the first table really just looks at what are the changes in population. Since 1840, I had fun actually doing that one.
So is
Because
this
it-
from census data?
It's census data, every decennial census. And I took, of course, everything prior to 1995 from the old plan. But you are now at the level of population that you were at between 1940 and 1950. So it's gone down steadily for the last 30, 40 years. But that's not unlike many municipalities in Maine. There's been a lot of, Augusta, where I grew up and spent the majority of my life, they've lost a lot of population as well. Then the next one, on the next page, top of the next page, that's just a little comparison of how the other communities around here have been faring with their population. And, it looks like a few communities are growing a little bit. I'm not sure you can actually, tell too much from a 40 or 50-year trend, but
Well, there was an article in the Bangor Daily News a few weeks ago that stated that Bangor actually was rated the youngest city in Maine. Did anybody notice that? Actually surpassing Portland? I don't know how they arrived at that number, but that was interesting to me.
they probably they get that from
They're pretty-
from the table at the
They're
top
pretty
of
fun and
page 3.
happening downtown.
Huh.
Pretty fun. Have
Yeah.
you been to Bangor lately?
It's great. Yeah,
It was kind of a blot.
yeah.
I was gone for 25 years and was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
actually kind of fun
Yeah,
and
It's a
clean and
creative
happening and
economy going.
yeah, changed quite a
Re-
bit.
uh, Yeah, you know what I read, one of my friends actually works for the city planning department there, and her comment on her personal Facebook page was, have you ever noticed that everything great happening in Bangor comes down to about 30, about a dozen people in their 30s?
In their
I think what
30s.
they've got is this little
Yes.
core
That's great.
engine.
Yeah.
Especially the downtown.
Yeah, they
With-
got
with
that
LeBron
green
and-
drinks
and-
thing, and the businesses there are all,
Right.
yep.
So, no surprise, and the choice of the communities that I compared Old Town to are really based on what was going on in 1995. Some may be more or less relevant today, and we can decide to take some out, switch some out, but this is what I've got so far. So, that top of page 2, area population change since 1970, then household size and number of households. Total households has gone up a little bit, but the household size has gone down almost a whole person in 40 years in Old Town. So much smaller units, makes sense that you would have more units then. The next one is the percent age distribution. Apologies for the very small numbers. But, you can see that, again, looking at this whole area, and I think I gave you an updated one to the one I have. So did I include Maine and the county? I did, okay.
I have to laugh at Orono.
Yeah.
I mean,
Where
are they
where do you think
counting
that big green
students?
line comes from?
They have to be counting.
Yeah.
Students as far as
Absolutely.
population.
that's-
because
that's not
I mean,
possible.
That big green line.
Well, it's, you do figure when you
Just have to
respond
be
to the
added together.
census,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
It asks where you reside. So that's why that number is, really
Skewed.
intense.
Even in Old Town, it does.
Yeah.
The students skew it because you only have a 5-year or a 6-year range, 18 to 24.
Right.
And the previous is 12 years.
Right,
And so you see a
Right.
spring right there, and that
Exactly.
has to be the students too.
Exactly.
I would think.
yep. Yep. Educational attainment is the next one. Just from high school, no diploma, all the way up through graduate. And again, I didn't really see anything that jumped out at me in any, it seemed to be pretty predictable and seemed to be holding steady from
Pretty positive, actually.
prior.
Think
It
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 just
is,
think
I
the
was gonna
same
say
thing.
that.
Yeah,
I say the same thing.
Mhm.
unemployment rates, this is just jumping around too. I just pulled whatever I could find real quickly. And this is just for the years 2000 and 2014. I think that's promising also.
Mm-hmm.
Less unemployment in a number of communities, but particularly Old Town.
With no mill.
And in the next one, the labor force, again, those same years, more labor force than there was 14 years ago.
Labor force is defined as,
It is all available people 16 years and older.
okay,
Next one, changes in total housing stock. What we'll do for these is we'll put a source for all of them, and we'll also pull out some interpretive bullets so that whoever's reading the plan can take a look and not have to worry about what are these bars telling me. So it'll be a quick snapshot telling us what they're saying. So this is 40 years, 40 censuses worth of housing stock changes, again for the same 7 communities in this area. And the housing stock is growing here in Old Town, a little.
Pretty minor compared to the other communities other than Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Now, is that new housing stock, available housing stock?
Changes in housing stock. That's of all the housing stock that
It-
there is in the
we-
number of houses, number of housing units in the community.
In the communities?
Yeah,
Multi-units included, or?
yeah, yeah. And the next one is housing occupancy. And that's just for 2010. Again, a comparison, the one that's almost invisible in most instances is the seasonal. Not a lot of seasonal.
the list, Old Town is total seasonal 72, I'm assuming that's mostly around Pushaw.
Yes, it would be.
Gotta be.
I thought there was more than that out there. Is that?
No.
They're converting.
In Old Town.
In Old Town, majority of what we have, and that's one thing we're gonna look at as far as what we call that zoning district. Very, very few seasonal dwellings
They've all been converted,
on Woodland and,
yeah.
yeah.
So that's, again, just a start of the kind of data that I'm pulling together. And just wanted to give you a little snapshot of that. Last time, so this is something that everybody got last time, but you're getting it again. One is, I'm gonna have one go in one direction, one go in the other direction. We talked at the end of the last meeting about what were the priority issues that we should keep an eye on as we work through this planning process. And I pulled together a list, included it in the notes of the last meeting, but I pulled that section out of the notes and made a separate handout. I just wanted to make sure that I got it, and that there wasn't anything else that, now that we have more members, that there should be, you know, something else on that list, so, and I'm sure you have some extras, because I gave them all out. Do it again.
Oh, you want
I
these?
do, I want one.
She wants one.
I want one of those, and I want one of
Oh, I
those.
didn't get the
We don't
second
have
one.
those.
You don't have those?
We don't
No,
have
no.
those.
I need one of those. I need
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
those.
we gotta keep going with these, yeah. You didn't get one,
You
Tim?
got the,
You got
master.
the original?
The blank one. yeah,
Okay. Good. Somebody else? Somebody got the front page. Okay. Did everybody get the issues page?
That's the
There's
issues.
extra issues.
There we go.
Well, let's see.
Oh,
We got all kinds.
Yes.
All right, that's all I want, is this one.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's see. I have two of these.
Does everybody
Issues and
have the
places.
issues and places?
Yep.
Yeah, now we need the opinion.
Okay. Everybody has the opinion leaders.
He
All
has a-
right. Those are the last two things I want to talk about tonight. So let's take issues and places first. Again, that was those were derived from a conversation we had at the end of our last meeting. And I just wanted to make sure I captured those issues correctly from your perspective. I organized them by topic, which they weren't organized when we talked about them last time. And this just helped me think through a little bit more clearly what these were about. So if, as you go through this list, if you can think of anything that I've missed or misrepresented, misunderstood, that would be helpful to know.
Isn't it Milford and Bradley are part of the Old Town Water District?
Yes.
Milford and Bradley. Okay.
No Orno. No Orno.
No, I think we had mentioned with Orno where we may be supplying.
Part of it, but we may be, we're not now, are we?
So it's Milford, Bradley, and Old Town today.
are we still doing it? Because it wasn't
Those are the
there.
customers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are the customers.
Orno, we may want to check on, because I know there's a talk of a permanent, but I think we may be providing them with some right now.
But we know we're doing Bradley,
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Well, there are parts of Arundel that are served by Old Town Water District in Stillwater.
in Stillwater,
And then
off
we're
that pump
trying to solve
station.
the problem that
Parts.
Beezy's having with that dead-end line.
Okay.
Now, the town line between Old Town and Alton along the Stagecoach Road.
Yes.
We listed that just as an issue of what, maintaining that road or,
That's a privately maintained
Right.
road.
So we really, was that anything that you?
And
could-
again, and I think what may have caused that to be on there is I brought up the fact that I allowed someone who has frontage in Old Town, the only access is Stagecoach Road, to build a building in there, and caught, holy heck,
you
from
open the
them
door,
to letting them drive down their road.
yeah. So that's
So-
And
contingent.
that was an issue that seemed to have disappeared, but if,
So who responds if there's a fire? Or-
Elton has a fire department. All of the residents are on the Elton side of the road.
Okay.
The boundary is right down through the middle of the road.
but there is a tree farm there on the right-hand side,
Yeah.
which has frontage along West Old Town Road. For me, as far as my ordinance is concerned, I don't care how you access it, as long as you have
Right.
frontage.
Right. So,
I don't see it
I
as an
guess
issue.
the
The town
question
line's
is,
not gonna
is it
change.
an
No,
issue
there's
or
No,
not?
the town line,
Right.
but the
Oh.
administration of that road, I would think as an issue, we might want to explore, just coordination with Elton, because that road there's going to be some issues on the Old Town side of that road.
Because somebody may want to sell off their property, that,
Yeah. That's been a longstanding problem. We've just kind of come to an impasse and we've left it there, but that, for a comprehensive plan,
Right.
we may want to open that can of worms, and it is a can of worms, again, and to see what we do with it, because there's several issues about maintaining that road, that Alton and the residents on that should be the ones responsible, well, the private road system, but they gotta do some things on the Old Town side in order to do that, and that affects, well, property owners, including me. So I do have a vested interest in that.
That's why you know so much about it.
And the next one,
Yes.
you know, I'm coordination, and yeah, I do have relationships with Old Town, and I am the principal, but I really don't think that should be on there. Linda McLeod is the school principal.
That's my note, just
That's
my
just
note.
what-
Okay.
I
that's
can
what we
take-
said, that was our
Because I'm
represent.
going, well, wait a minute here. you
No,
know, it's like,
we're not,
pretty-
it's not that you are an issue or a place.
No,
Okay,
just
good.
stating that
You're absolutely
know
right.
that.
And that isn't gonna get published that way
Okay,
at
okay.
all. But it was really
That's
just
the only
my
name
note.
on there, and that would, you know, that
Yes.
really kind of works.
Yeah.
I have no pull
It's a
over there,
good
by the way.
point.
None.
No, we were talking about interrelationships as
Yeah.
far as,
On the utilities, I would think you'd want internet or
Oh,
fiber, three-ring
Yeah,
binder.
binder.
reminded, that's
Yeah.
what I was looking for, yeah.
Yeah, I was asking David about that when I first came in, to find out whether or not you were here on the three-ring binder.
and we are.
I think we're
Now,
the first
clearly,
group.
there are a lot of other
thought we
transportation
were.
issues, but these are the three that came up last time. I want to make sure that I cover those issues. I spoke with one of my former counterparts at Bax lately, and he's given me a bunch of studies that have been done, corridor study of
Oh, yeah.
Stillwater.
I participated in some of that
Yeah,
with back.
So I have those that I can digest and pull from to see what moves into the comprehensive plan, or if it just gets referred to in some fashion.
I think
With-
there are
with the-
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
No, go ahead.
I think there are walking trails and the bike path that should be included in that transportation.
Oh, definitely. We will definitely do that, as well as, the bus system.
You want to add that to the transportation, the bus system?
Well, we're gonna do that anyway. These seem to be that, that rose to
The top,
make sure that you cover this, because
The,
they're,
the airport plan,
yeah,
I was able to pull out the latest and greatest, which was 2007, for the business park
yeah,
in the airport, and that's all been approved.
yeah. And I can get a lot of that information from the state. Anyway, it's on their website.
Would the airport have
The
been?
airport master plan is on the website.
It is, okay,
On the state
perfect.
website, yeah.
Thank you. I wished I'd known that.
I think it was brought up at the last meeting.
Well, I spent all Friday afternoon in the dungeon looking for it.
Does anybody know what the latest is on the Penobscot Nation suit around the river?
It's hot and heavy.
I haven't seen
That's all I
any-
know.
Yeah, I haven't seen any articles about it lately.
Old Town is neutral on it. I know
Yeah.
Orno just rescinded their.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that article.
It's gonna be very.
We did receive, you mentioned the dam removal benefits, and when they were selling the plan to do it, they were touting all these great and wonderful things that would happen because of it. But there's no, to my knowledge, any objective information that,
To back up their,
well, no, I mean, since then, it's done.
Right.
Okay, do we need to, analyze, well, what have the benefits been to the river? Would think that would be part of a comprehensive plan, that you'd want to follow up with, well, what were the benefits of removing that dam?
Yep. And what is their official name? I wrote
They're not- Yes.
Penobscot River Restoration
Mhm.
Trust?
Mhm.
They are so active on Facebook, by the
Okay,
way.
good.
they are, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Because I think part of their dam removal and restoration was to facilitate redoing our flood maps along the Penobscot, which has never been done.
that I haven't seen. But most organizations are kind of fractured, and they just might have somebody there that's.
But on Facebook that I
Yeah.
could look that up and, thank you.
That is gonna change.
Is there any other natural resources issues, Barry, that you think we ought to be
Flood insurance, it shouldn't be. Especially-
focusing on?
I have a crazy question. I heard from just people that aren't involved in government on any level that somebody said, hey, have you noticed a train come through Old Town recently? And the answer is no. And then the next question was that there was actually talk about making that into a linear park, a la the Sunrise Trail. Has anybody besides me
No.
and a handful of my friends heard about that?
They weren't running through Brewer all last winter either, and they've begun again.
Is
to-
that, are you talking specifically about the Sunrise Trail people? I don't know, I just heard
No,
some
just,
crazy
all
number.
I'm speaking to
trains.
is the rail line. They didn't go anywhere north or south on that rail line all winter.
Yeah.
For what reason, I don't
Been a
know.
while, yeah.
I think
I can dig
natural
into that.
resources,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I can find that out through my resources
Yeah, I
at
have
the
no
DOT,
idea who
because
would
I
be
think
doing
they're, yeah, they're very connected.
On the natural resource environment boat launch at Push Out in the Old Town.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how we addressed it last time, and it might come under this category, but we have a love-hate relationship with the Casella landfill, and should that be in there somewhere? Not
I got it as
that
a
we have a love-hate
utility.
relationship, but
Yeah.
because we, again, on the sewage treatment plant end of it, we used to have a sludge composting site, which was very popular to sell the amendment and so forth, and
Right.
then that was discontinued because we have a capacity up at the mill, of the Casella landfill,
Right.
but yet we still own that property, if you will. And we're looking at ways to develop it. And then the
The
transfer
sludge.
station is now under the operation of the Casella. I mean, I don't know if that's appropriate, but I just thought I'd mention it.
I put it under utilities, the
Oh, it's a utility.
Casella
Yeah, mhm.
probably is miscategorized there, but.
It's a horse all unto
Yeah.
itself, yeah.
Where we're gonna treat it.
Yeah.
You know, I guess one thing I might bring up with the dam removal, and this goes back to some of the, talking about some of the promises that were made. You know, that towns would have festivals along the river, and Old Town had it before the dam went out. The first year since the dam went out, we can't float canoes off the community park because the water in the channel is too low, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can reroute any water to bring it
But they're
back to
having
the
that
Old
canoe,
Town
they have,
side or not.
the Penobscot Nation is having the national canoe and kayak event on, right at the Riverfront Park.
Launching right there.
And they're launching there, yeah, they're going down, I assume they'll go down the other side of the island.
Not if they launch here.
Well, I know, but they'll have to, if, they're
They'll probably
hoping,
ask for a
they're,
release from
because
Brookfield, I would
yeah.
guess.
Right.
they'll ask them to put the boards down, and, because they don't do it as,
I'll ask for a release from Brookfield, I would.
but they're gonna have that there, and they're hoping to, and it's set for 3 years, and then they hope to have the regionals there. So they're planning on water there. You're right. I know it's always a challenge with the fireworks every year, because we used to put them off the island, and we can't get to the island, because there's no water.
Well, that'll be interesting to observe this summer when it.
But if you look at it today, you'd never think that.
You would never
was the
think that could
outcome, but-
happen. You'd think,
But I know
no.
the Canoe City Swim Club always used to have their duck race there, and we
Yeah.
haven't been able to have the duck race either, so.
Right,
No,
huh. Anything else?
they won't put the boards down for us.
With some of the longer-term residents here, the culture, historic, and scenic resources, I know one of the questions that Kat had posed to me was on cultural,
Oh, yeah.
oh, where'd I find it? On cultural studies, help me out, Kat.
Yeah, we'll probably get in the state data packet some information from Earl Shuttleworth's office, the Maine Historic Preservation Commission. They'll identify known properties that may be on the National Register of Historic Places, and they'll identify generally if there are archaeological sites, and I'm sure there are around here. So we'll have that, but Sometimes when big developments happen and maybe the, some of the activity that I haven't had a chance to go through fully in the building permit report you gave me, some of those larger developments may have had to do some kind of a cultural assessment, an archaeological assessment in their state permitting.
Well,
if
and
not
and
the local.
typically with local, unfortunately for us, site plans are based on the square footage of a building, not
Right.
necessarily.
The land.
And that is part of our site plan review, is
Okay.
you have to get the letters from all of the various entities.
Okay, so I guess that would be, well, I'll look at the building permit report and see if there are any that kind of rise to the,
And then we can look back at planning board.
exactly, yeah.
Well, the Old Town Canoe site, we had to go through Maine Historic Preservation and the Penobscot Nation. There are sites around there.
Yes,
And there are a lot on the river that,
I bet.
some are generally identified, but not specific, because they don't want people to know.
Yeah.
Right, exactly, exactly. So that's why I say, when they give me a map, they'll put a great big bubble in an area that there could be archaeological resources somewhere in here, because they don't want people to go digging. And, and that's what sometimes happens.
I'll give you a name of somebody, maybe I'll contact with you offline. They're called Stillwater Historians.
Yes.
And she writes about the river just from her own perspective, and I don't really know who she is. She's some sort of academic person, I think, who lives around here, but I don't know what she does. But she talks about the river and the old railroad trestles or whatever they are, and things like that, and just the story of that. So when you go out in the
Interesting.
river, you see these old, what are they? Big pylons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just talks
Oh,
about
from the-
that.
From the
Interesting, it's
logging
interesting.
days.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's interesting from the water's point of view.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
that'd be
send you
great.
that, I'll send you that.
That'd be
And
great.
we do have the site right over here where the old Bangor.
VC Railroad.
Daisy Railroad.
VZ Railroad.
Yep.
When we do our tour, when you come up next time,
Yes.
we can
That'd
visit,
be great, yeah,
I'll kind of look at what we're talking about. and-
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
Can I throw in one that probably hits two or three of these categories?
Sure.
And I'm playing off my memory, and you were at the DOT at the time frame I was,
Okay.
so I'm playing off my memory for 15-plus years. And Dave would probably know what I'm talking about, but we have on here Sewell Park, and you have transportation and so on. Going out to the now permanent residences that are at Pushaw, which used to be a seasonal community.
Right,
Every spring and every fall, there was an access problem due to the marshland out there, and it turns out that there is, unquote, everybody thought it was something else, thought it was just a mound of soil, but it turns out that his crib work,
It's crib
built by
work.
Mr. Sewell and his friends in 1920, there was mapping of that, and it was added to, into my tenure, putting rubber tire chips on the top to make it go up a little higher. But at that time, there was talk about putting a real bridge there and some other things, but it was at a $10 million price tag, and so it was decided we shan't do that.
right.
And then there was concern about access from either end of the T that comes out, because it would outlet to Orono and/or to Hudson. But nothing has ever been developed. And would this be appropriate to put in, because if that should rot or whatever,
Right,
that's 2,000 feet.
yeah,
That thing is half a mile long.
yep. Absolutely,
Okay.
that's definitely something to document and talk about what has happened to it since it was built,
Yep.
and what have been the conversations around
Right.
what ought to happen.
And that could go back to one of the earlier bullets that you had here as far as working with other communities to,
Yes, yep.
And then the other one I wanted to verify on your listing here is the economic development, redevelopment, and maybe I'm misunderstanding or misremembering, but it does say Superfund site at Boomhouse Restaurant, which was the former site of a Lily Tulip, but, and that maybe is still called a Superfund site, but isn't the Old Town Canoe Factory also considered a Superfund site, the the property we're trying to development, or a brownfield, or something that,
Brownfield.
brownfield.
We didn't, where it was capped and not dug into.
Right, but if somebody should decide to go build something that needs to be dug into, then
Can't
that
do it.
opens up, okay.
Okay,
There's restrictions.
Right,
The site right over here.
Yeah.
right,
so we're at the factory,
right.
okay.
When we look at recreation and open space, we basically just threw out Sewell Park.
As, yeah, one to keep an eye on, but we'll do the whole assessment of what you have for facilities and,
For the Riverfront Park, and
Yeah.
does that count all of our ball fields and?
yep,
Well, and certainly, I mean, the university forest and all the trails that exist out there, their
right,
their entire network would
Yeah.
be part of that.
Okay.
It's certainly utilized by the population now for recreation, just walking and skiing and that sort of thing.
So what's the issue at Sewell Park? I don't even know where Perch Pond is. It came up last time.
Most people know it as
Mud pond.
Mud
It's
pond.
Pond,
Took me a minute to get
It's just across the causeway that Phil
just
was just
talking
talking about.
Yeah.
right?
I
So
rode
was
my
there a
bike- I rode
particular
my bike
reason
there
that it
last
came
year.
up, is my question.
I think it was just
It is.
open
aware of
space,
it.
and we,
Be aware of it.
it's,
Yeah,
a-
it was
it's,
unkept
it's
in the
utilized
design of the
quite a lot. We,
Okay.
we issue permits. There's a huge field there, and one of the Boy Scouts just did one of his Eagle projects and put a little canopy and
Kiosk,
picnic
yeah.
table.
Yeah, cool.
But we get, it's amazing the family reunions that take place out there over the summer months.
Good.
Am I right? This is part of my community, but the Penobscot, I don't know what exactly their name is, but again, they're on Facebook. There is a mountain biking community that spends a lot of time maintaining those trails out there. I think I know I went out there and rode, like in August, it was a little weedy, but they work out there. They're out there maintaining and have relationships with the landowners and stuff. Yeah,
That brings us to this.
yeah. Okay, want me to add that on there and email it to you?
Yeah, so you each got one, and I'm probably gonna bring them for the next couple of meetings. Because
Yeah,
I wanna
they're
make
actually-
sure
they're
that
actually
we're
extremely
inviting
wide
the right
variety.
people to our process here. I don't wanna miss anybody, but that mountain,
Boyd.
mountain
I know
biking
it's
group
dead,
would be
but-
good.
But I work at the Vines.
Can I also mention on the recreation
Yes.
that there is a Little League field that it would be perceived that the city actually owns it, but it's actually owned by the Knights of Columbus, so it's actually privately owned, which is, I think, the main Little League field in the city.
Okay.
And it's over on Gilman Falls Avenue. Correct.
All right. Good, so we'll be sure to note that. So, yes, if you have, again, any information to help me fill in some of the blanks or fill in some of the additional lines, that's wonderful. You can just email them to me.
Okay.
You can give them to me tonight if you have them, but I'm gonna keep building this list. And then when the time is right, I may ask some of you to help me go out and connect with these people, especially if you know them personally, to invite them to a conversation, give them a heads up that they're gonna get something in the mail or get a phone call, things of that nature, so that we can make sure that we have a good turnout, especially for our big events in September.
Is,
I don't think that's so much.
is there a way that we can organize this so that we're all not just bombarding you?
I don't feel bombarded by any.
Or for lack of, four of us are putting down the same information?
Should we channel it through you then?
Well, no, I really don't want it to be
I
channeled
don't,
through
you
me.
know, I really don't mind if you want to just email me.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
If maybe if you CC'd it to me, and then I can keep it in my file for this project,
Sure.
that might be helpful, but no, no. There's our channel.
I'll be the channel. So,
Well, I guess would you be looking for, I mean, you have Xpera on here, but there's several major businesses here that have been here.
right, and I just got a list,
Lance
right?
Ferris.
Soul
Yes.
Company, Old Town Canoe, so you have something.
I just
Okay.
provided her with the last 10 years of
Yeah,
taxpayers and employers, and
So if there's a particular individual in any one of those companies that you think would be good to invite to the table, to invite to a conversation at some point down the road, then, you know, that's what would be helpful, because I'm just gonna have the generic
It's
information
just
from
the
what
top
he's
10
given me here.
taxpayers
So,
and employers.
so that is what I have for you tonight. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 8th of May, 6 o'clock,
When?
28th of May,
Oh, yes.
and, yep.
6 o'clock?
Yep, and I'll bring that night a preliminary list of questions for additional survey work and how we might go about getting the survey responded to. We'll have we'll probably have a little bit more data analyzed for you. We'll also have a better sense of webpage and Facebook. That'll be just about ready to be launched, if not launched by then. We'll also have a real good outline of what we plan on doing in September. So we're scheduled to be here for 2.5 days in late September, where we would come in and have a community event on the first evening, where we're displaying maps and information to the community and getting, you know, some preliminary input. And then for the next day and a half, we'd be meeting with different groups. Maybe it's a group of business people in the morning of one day. Maybe it's a group of nonprofit organizations in the afternoon. Maybe another group. We'll have to determine what we think. You know, we'll have to make some suggestions as to what we think would be that. Maybe it's a public services group as the third group. But we'll have morning, afternoon of one day, and then morning of the third day. But on the second and third nights, we have more open house, more opportunity for, again, people in the community to come in. We'll have a little bit of information that we've collected during the day. We'll present that. We'll get a feeling for whether or not they like those ideas. And by the third night, we'll have a few recommendations that will help us move forward in developing the vision statement and the goals and the strategies, which will be then the next event in probably late October, early November.
For that type of meeting, should we, and definitely we'll advertise it in Penobscot Times, but should that be one that we held at the library? Do you think we'd get a response larger than what we can facilitate here?
Here?
Hope so.
Yeah,
I hope
Yeah.
you get more people, yeah.
yeah, probably should look at the library.
That would be a more, you know, inviting,
Friendly
Place to-
site, yeah.
yeah, than he,
And that would be the late October meeting.
September, late September. There's two. There's the
The-
3 evenings,
And how late were we doing it in September? Remember, we had that conversation because.
Yes.
Yeah.
because there's an event happening.
Riverfest and the city's 175th anniversary.
Yeah, that is a really busy
Yeah,
time.
22,
Yeah.
23, 24 of September.
So that would be,
That's going to be hard, and the 175th is also going to be involved, and so we're not really sure what the events could extend to.
And that's also, because I know I come up against that a couple of times, it's also Leonard Mill's big historical weekend too. So
Yeah.
everybody is on that weekend.
Could we bump that in the first week in October?
Well, that's okay with me. Was there anything, the 29th, 30th, and 1st of October that would prevent us or be a conflict? 'Cause
No,
we
but
could do
that
it.
other week really will be a conflict because a lot of people are going to be involved
Right.
in that, planning for that event, and there may be
And-
things that,
Yeah, then let's not conflict the two. Let's
So you're
move
looking
it to the following week.
And you said October, what was that, the 20?
September 29, 30, and October 1.
That was a good catch with that. That is a very busy,
it is, yeah.
yeah.
And then we would not do the other public workshop until the 1st or 2nd week of November.
Mhm.
That's gonna be the big one where, okay, we're putting the framework, they're not gonna care about the details of the data by then, but they'll wanna know where you're going with this, you know, what are the goals? What is the vision for this community? So that's what we'll be working on between this big 3-day meeting and early November.
Okay. I have a process question. We've, I think we've pretty well formulated our committee. I mean, this is our second meeting.
Yeah.
And in your experience with other municipalities, do we just sit here and serve to, you know, discuss with you and approve and that sort of thing? Or are there, I mean, some of us have certain expertise that we can tap. Now, do you routinely, like, pass out assignments for certain individuals on the committee or as a whole?
I
Or?
would love it if you wanted to take some assignments, because, you know, it's gonna be tricky for us to be able to capture everything as well as you know it. So one of the things that I was thinking of that for an assignment, I'm so glad you brought it up, would be to, you know, help give me a paragraph about the, that issue page. What are, you know, give me some leads into what's, you know, why is it on the issue page? So, you know, any background that you may have about relationship with UMO, for example. What are the main points of concern? What should we be pursuing conversations with them about? Things like that. So if any of you have particular knowledge.
Send it to you.
And send
Okay.
it to me. And I'll compile it, bring it back. We can then fill in some blanks. There'll be times when I need you to help me distribute the survey. There'll be people who won't go online to answer it, won't do a Survey Monkey. So I think it was you that said maybe we could go to the nursing homes or some of the elderly housing and bring some hard copies and interview them, ask them to answer the questions that way. There'll be times when maybe I need for you to advertise an event, and that means putting a poster up at a grocery store, at the library, running around, you know, those kind of things that we really won't be very efficient in doing because you know your city and you're walking by.
So how is that going to happen? I think most efficiently it would come directly from you. It doesn't have to go through this committee, right? We're all volunteers.
Right.
We'll do what we can do. Some things we can't do.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, it'll come up as an agenda item.
Okay.
I think I'll bring it up well enough in advance so that we can plan for it. There might be some things that, oh my gosh, I forgot this, and is somebody
Does anybody
available?
on that, you know, we're all volunteers.
Right.
Does anybody, well, except for Dave, yep. But does anybody here have a,
Here's our channel.
okay, have a problem with Kat, you know, contacting us individually and asking, and if you're volunteers, so if you can do it, great. If you can't, well, you can't.
Just
I mean,
tell me, right, you just tell me.
Does anybody have a problem with that? Okay, so there's
Great,
your,
That's wonderful. That's
know.
really good.
okay,
Yeah, because, you know, there will be maybe even some information, some data that I can't get my hands on that maybe you know.
okay. So
where
then
a
you're free
resource
then
might
to
be.
contact any one of us.
Wonderful.
And we don't mind, and we'll
Great.
tell you if we can help or not.
Excellent. That's great. 'Cause I think it'd be good to have your fingerprints on it more than just mine.
Mhm.
Wonderful. Is there anything else that I can answer for you, or
Do I have your email address?
you probably don't, but I will be emailing you probably tomorrow or the day after if your name is on that list.
Oh,
And,
Yeah, we want to just make sure we get that before we all leave.
I think Barry's the only one that hasn't
yeah,
updated it.
yeah.
I put some on there, Barry. I don't know if I got it right.
Gary, and we just need Alan's, check.
Okay. And please, you know, feel free to connect with me in between meetings if there's a question that you have. Email me, or I'll make sure I include my phone number on emails as well. We'll try to be as thorough and responsive as we can be.
Okay, well,
I say we, but you haven't met my co-writer yet. She's actually doing a project in Howland right now for them, so she's passing through. But one of these days, she'll be coming to the September event, definitely. We'll need her for that, so. And Travis will be here for that event as well. So, anyway.
and we're gonna,
I'd just like to add that I was getting a little discouraged on the amount of citizen participation, and I appreciate
Oh, my God.
you
yeah.
for
This is
great to have
We
everybody.
got a
Sure.
full house. It's wonderful.
volunteering.
Yeah,
It's much appreciated, and good background with all of you, and I think it's gonna be
Exactly.
very helpful.
absolutely. Good.
All right,
Thank
all right,
you.
Old Town.
I think we're adjourned, unless there's something else.
We all set with that sign-up sheet?
Do you need any more children in
Yes.
New Hampshire?
Thank you.
Do you need them in New Hampshire?